Journaling is something that's kind of come more into view over the past several years as a way for people to help support mental health, but it's also a really great tool for just wellness in general. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that and just give you a little bit of a behind the scenes look at some of the benefits of journaling because it's really pretty eye-opening. Welcome to Journeys Through Change, a podcast that inspires women to let go of the fear and say yes to possibility. I'm your host, Noelle Van, an author, creator, and empowerment coach who spent years in corporate America helping innovators and leaders ride the waves of change with ease and grace. I now work with women to step into change and unleash the power they have to create a life they love. Whether you're contemplating a change in your career, relationship, health, lifestyle, or anything in between, nothing's off the table. I'll be offering up simple insights to help you manage the ups and downs of change and sharing interviews with successful women who took a leap of faith to create the life they knew they were meant to live, sharing their wisdom, advice, and all the juicy lessons they learned along the way. So get cozy in your favorite comfy chair and let's get started. So I wanted to talk a little bit today about journaling. It's something that I get asked a lot about, and I wanted to share a little bit about my journey with journaling and some of the benefits that I think people will really be pretty astounded by. Journaling is something that's kind of come more into view over the past several years as a way for people to help support mental health, but it's also a really great tool for just wellness in general. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that and just give you a little bit of a behind the scenes look at some of the benefits of journaling because it's really pretty eye-opening. Just to get started, I want to talk a little bit about how I started journaling just to give you a little bit of grounding. So I started journaling probably back when I was 14, 15 years old. It was really more of an outlet just for my formative years, kind of a way of understanding life in general. And in my mid-30s, and looking for ways to cope pretty much with the stress of my work life, I had developed some pretty unhealthy habits. And so I stopped journaling altogether during that time. And it's not until I got sober 13 years ago that I returned to the practice. So I had kind of been out of it for a while and then jumped back in. I tell people that journaling saved my life, and I really mean that. It really opened me up to understanding myself better, especially in early recovery, just helping me connect the dots between my thoughts, behavior, and just how I felt every day. All this to say, journaling can really support you in different ways and at different times in your life. Just as we spend our time talking about this, I want you to think about journaling and maybe how it might be able to help you move forward, because I think a lot of people are starting to turn to it as a really great alternative to other modalities, but just writing in general. The benefits of journaling. This is a really interesting one. I've done some research on this, and there's some pretty amazing statistics out there. But the one thing I want to say before we even go into this is if you are contemplating journaling at any time, you want to make sure that you start or get started on your own terms. I say this because when you start any habit, it's really beneficial to make sure that you are making it as easy as possible to do it every day. And it could be 5 or 10 minutes. It could be a full hour. People tack it on to the beginning of their day, the end of their day. It really just depends on what makes sense for you. But it's really important to do that so that you can stick with it. And then it kind of takes on a life of its own, I have to say. Because once you get started, you kind of get hooked on it because it helps to really unearth a lot that's going on in your mind that you may not even be recognizing consciously. So I'm just saying that before throwing these additional benefits out there, because I think it's just important to note that if even thinking about it. The benefits of journaling. So the first thing is, these are some obvious ones, but it allows self-expression in many ways. And in a world that is crowded by screen time, it's such a wonderful way to disconnect and just get to know yourself better. It also helps you recognize unconscious thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. And as you'll soon learn, writing inherently unearths our stuff, some of which we may be holding deep inside. It also helps identify patterns. So as you start to see your thoughts and behaviors and you're jotting them down on paper, you can start to really connect those dots and get a better understanding of what's going on. And once you do that, you can start to make adjustments and then really enhance your life in a lot of different ways by knowing that or by having that information. And lastly, it helps you to track progress, identify opportunities, and just celebrate wins. So we don't often look back and get to see kind of where we've come from unless we have something that we've documented. And this is why journaling is so beautiful, because you can always take a look at where were you 3 months ago or where were you a year ago and how far you've come. So the statistics are what I think are pretty amazing. The first is a study published in Psychological Science that found that people who engaged in expressive writing improved their working memory by approximately 15%. Pretty big deal. Another study published in Psychosomatic Medicine showed a 30% increase in immune system functioning in participants who journaled about emotional experiences. This kind of shows how physiologically it can help you a great deal, especially if you're writing things down. A study published in Applied Psychology found that participants who journaled about positive experiences before bedtime fell asleep faster and had improved sleep quality. That's a huge one. Big one for me, at least. And then a study in the Journal of Research in Personality showed that participants who journaled about problem solving experienced a 20% improvement in creative problem solving abilities. So you can see that the improvements are just pretty immense in terms of all areas of your life. So now to talk a little bit about stress management. Studies link writing privately about stressful events, capturing thoughts and emotions on paper will decrease mental distress. In addition, there's some valuable interventions happening around PTSD and how self-expression can help alleviate those symptoms. There's a lot going on there in terms of writing and expressing yourself, and then that helping for your emotional health. Also in addiction recovery, and I can speak from experience that had a profound effect on my recovery process. Just being able to recognize wins, understand opportunities, really see how I was thinking and be able to shift some of that negative thinking and really just grow from there. It definitely has a lot of positive ways to approach mental health on a lot of different levels. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is anxiety and depression. Journaling can really give you a greater awareness on so many different levels, but it can bring your thoughts and feelings to the surface. And that's a big deal when dealing with anxiety and depression. Since writing unearths those unconscious thoughts, it can often tell you a lot of things that you didn't recognize were happening unconsciously. And with doing that, it can help you gain greater perspective. So when your thoughts and worries are swirling around, putting pen to paper can really cut down on the chaos. Because when we write things down, it makes them feel more manageable. Also, it shifts your viewpoint and perspective. So writing about happy memories is especially powerful because depression tends to bring up negative feelings. It's like retraining your brain. And you can use positive self-talk like gratitude or affirmation journaling to help shift your perspective. So that's really powerful. And then lastly, it just helps you to recognize patterns like I had mentioned earlier. And this is gold. Spotting thoughts or behaviors that trigger your depression is half the battle and understanding how to get through it. So those are just a couple of benefits that come with journaling. There are many, many more. And there are different styles of journaling that you can take a look at depending on what you're using journaling for. One of them is stream of consciousness journaling, which is really free form. And it's just writing what comes to mind. This is where nuggets of information can really show up. Then there's more structured journaling, which is using prompts, lists, or templates. You've got creative journaling where you can really capture art, poetry, or collage. And then there's reflective journaling that really helps you analyze your thoughts and feelings. And this is more powerful to understand and dig deeper, sort of to unlock what's going on inside. There are many different choices of journals out there that you could choose from too. You've got freeform journaling, which is just your basic open page, no prompt journal. You've got bullet journaling, which is something that's big now, which is more creative and helps you personalize it more and a lot more detailed and goal setting and all of those kinds of things. Gratitude journals are great. They help you to shift perspective, as well as wellness journals, which is a big one that I love, of course, because the daybook being one of them. It really helps you manage your health and it gives you prompts to then track your progress, which is key to everything when it comes to feeling better every day. Then there's travel journals, which are, again, creative and experiential. And then junk journals, which are kind of new. And that's something that's more creative. And the name comes just from the concept of using it more as a scrapbook. But so there's so many different ways that you can use journaling and so many different styles and tons of them out there. So, of course, I'm a proponent of the daybook, but there are tons of others that can really help you to bring things up and out in different ways. So getting started, just make sure that you set aside time in your schedule, find a comfortable and quiet spot. Think of your journal as your trusted companion. So it's a judgment-free zone. It's a place for you to just write down your thoughts. Nobody's watching. Nobody's going to be reading it. and really get it down and out on paper. And then tips for success is really just paying attention. Pay attention to your breath too. I always say this to people. When you are sitting down and writing, you want to be in a relaxed state. Just take a few deep breaths before you get started. Be honest with yourself. And the next one is key in developing this habit. You're going to make a world of difference in your daily routine. And I really mean that when I say it. You're going to want to skip it maybe the first couple of days. And then once you get into the habit, I'm telling you, it will be something that is a really beneficial thing that you're not going to want to miss. The last thing I would just say to this is be open to exploring your emotions, because that's what's going to come out on the page. There's a reason for it coming out on the page. And you want to take a look at what that's telling you, because journaling is, if nothing else, a key to kind of opening yourself up to going deeper and understanding yourself better. Now, I'm going to put some journaling prompts in the show notes, because those I think will be just helpful to get you started if you're interested. And just one last thing I want you to think about before we finish, and that is set an intention for your journaling practice. You want to take a few minutes to write down your intention. Is it for greater well-being? Is it for a deeper understanding of yourself? Is it just an easy writing tool to self-express? Is it some new habit, ritual that you want to get started just because you want to put more structure into your routine? Do you want to do it in the evening? Do you want to do it in the morning? Maybe it's 2 or 3 times a week to start. Whatever it is, just set the goal, because it's going to get you started and it's going to help you take those first few steps needed. So with all this said, journaling is a really powerful tool. It's something that I think once you get started with, if you haven't been familiar with writing, it really gets you in touch with the deeper parts of yourself that writing brings up and out. And as I've said in the past, we hold our emotions within our body. And so movement being one that's really helpful, writing is another. So if you can get into the habit of writing and having that deeper understanding and that openness to seeing what's inside, journaling is going to be an amazing next step for you. That's it for now. Until next time. Thanks for listening to the Journeys Through Change podcast. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or really wherever you get your podcasts. And be sure to follow us and leave a review if you've enjoyed this episode. And share it with a friend or on social media to spread the good word, so more women like you can find us and join in on the fun. For more information on the podcast or Day by Day book, go to livedaybyday.com.